for the binomial expansion in descending powers of x of x cubed minus 1 over 2x to the power 12, find the first four terms, simplifying each term. So the first term will be 12c0 x cubed to the power 12 times minus 1 over 2x to the power 0. The second term will be 12c1 x cubed to the power 11 times minus 1 over 2x to the power 1. The third term would be 12c2 x cubed to the power 10 times minus 1 over 2x squared plus 12c3 x cubed to the power 9 times minus 1 over 2x cubed. 12c0 is 1. X cubed to the power 12 would be x to the power 36. Minus 1 over 2x to the power 0 is 1. 12c1 is 12. X cubed to the power 11 is x to the power 33 times minus 1 over 2x to the power 1 is minus 1 over 2x. 12c2 is 66. X cubed to the power 10 is x to the power 30. Minus 1 over 2x squared will be positive 1 over 4x squared. 12c3 is 220. X cubed to the power 9 is x to the power 27 times minus 1 over 2x to the power 3 is minus 1 over 8x cubed. Now to simplify each of those terms, the 1 times x to the power 36 times 1 is x to the power 36. The 12 times the x to the power 33 times minus 1 over 2x. We're focusing just on the numbers first of all. We've got 12 times minus 1 over 2. So basically 12 times minus a half, which is going to be minus 6. And then focusing on the x's, x to the power 33 times 1 over x, or x to the power 33 divided by x, is going to be x to the power 32. Next, we've got 66 times 1/4, which will just simplify to be 33 over 2. It's the simplest you can write that. And then the x to the power 30 divided by the x squared is x to the power 28. And then the fourth term, we've got the 220 times minus 1/8. So that's going to be a minus the 220 divided by 8 is 55 over 2. And then we've got the x to the power 27 divided by the x cubed, which would be x to the power 24. And then that is my answer for part A. Part B. Find in its simplest form the term independent of x in this expansion. So independent of x, that means the term that doesn't have any x in it at all, the term that is just a constant. Now let's think about which term that would be. We can see that the first term in this sequence is x to the power 36, the second term was x to the power 32, then x to the power 28, then x to the power 24, and so on. It's descending powers of x. It's going down because if we have a look at this line, the previous line of working out with this yellow highlighting, it was going down because the first term was being cancelled out by the second term. The x to the power 33 was being divided by the x. The x to the power 30 was being divided by the x squared. The x to the power 27 was being divided by the x cubed. There will come a term eventually where both of those things cancel out. I need to think which term that would be. How is it that this term will be cancelled out by this term? So there will have to be a term that is something like this. 12c something x cubed to the power something multiplied by minus 1 over 2x to the power something. Now I know that these two numbers here would have to add up to 12. They always do. So what numbers would add up to 12 would make these things cancel out? Well, it's going to have to be, if this is a 3 here, and if this is a 9 here, those two numbers add up to 12, and that's a good thing to do. Not only do they add up to 12, but when I expand this, x cubed to the power 3, I'll get x to the power 9. And then here I'll get x to the power 9. And those will then cancel out, leaving me with a term that is independent of x. So that's the logic I'm using here. This then would have to be a 12c9. So let's work that out then. So 12c9 is 220. Like I said, x cubed to the power 3 is x to the power 9. Then we've got minus 1 over 2x to the power 9. Now 2 to the power 9 is 512. So we'd have 512 to the power 9 like this. And like I said, these will cancel out and just leave me with 220 times 1 over 500 times minus 1 over 512, which would simplify to be minus 55 over 128. And that is the term that would be independent of x. So that's how I would work it out in the shortest way possible. I know it might be quite complicated for some people to think of this in the first place. The worst case scenario that you can always do, we obviously wrote out the first 4 terms in part A. The worst case scenario for you is you could always just write out the whole thing if you have the time, and then find the number, the term that doesn't have an x in it. So just keep on doing part A over and over and over and over and over again until eventually you get to the bit where you find a term that doesn't have an x in it. But hopefully you understood how I worked it out in a quicker way.